Hi, welcome back to the Lighthouse Addiction Topic Show. My name is Joe and I'm your host for today. And today I'm here with a very beloved drug and alcohol counselor as well as a very special interventionist. His name is Danny. Welcome. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Danny Lansdale, and I've been in the addiction field for a few years. And I worked at the Lighthouse as a counselor for about 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had my struggles in my past, just in and out of addiction, struggled with heroin, meth, everything. And then I slowly found my way out. And now I just want to help others, you know?
Awesome. And we're so glad that that's the life that you chose, because you're a huge part of our recovery community here in Orange County. Everybody knows who you are. Everybody, when they hear Danny Boy or Danny, they know that you're the person that's going to help other people out of the kindness out of your heart. So I'm so glad that you're here today.
Thank you.
Today's topic is boundaries and enabling, which is a very important topic to help people in early recovery or just generalized recovery. Danny, can you please explain what enabling is?
What enabling is, you know, a lot of times, you know, I deal with individuals and I'll talk to their parents, their mothers, their fathers, and they'll be trying to figure out how to help their son or daughter with their addiction problem. And a lot of times what they do is they try to throw money at them or try to take care of their problems or solve their problems for them. You know, like they'll say, you know, if I just had a car, I'm going to be okay, you know, I'll be able to get a job if you just buy me a car. And then they buy him a car. Well, the thing is that that's pretty much enabling, you know, individuals that are stuck in addiction, individuals that are stuck, and they need to find their way out, you know, on their own or going to treatment. You know, parents constantly give in to their child, solve the problems for them, instead of letting the person solve the problems by themselves. And this is enabling, and it's very unhealthy.
And why is enabling unhealthy or toxic to somebody who's trying to get sober?
Well, just like I was saying, an individual has these problems, and they have these situations that they need to overcome on their own. They need to figure it out. And if you continue to solve the problems for them, they're not going to be able to figure it out. And it sounds crazy, but an individual needs to suffer the consequences of their own actions. And if you keep removing the consequences, then they're not going to learn. And sometimes what it takes is we need to have a little bit of pain to change.
Yeah,
we need to be uncomfortable. We need to struggle. We need to recognize, you know, if my addiction leads me into homelessness and I'm out there on the street or out there in uncomfortable places, maybe I'm going to do something to change and get on my feet. But if my folks keep buying me an apartment or keep paying my rent or keep paying my, you know, insurance or keep paying for my car, that's not going to help me because I'm not allowed to grow.
Yeah.
And enabling is extremely unhealthy.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Can you please explain what boundaries are?
Boundaries is an important topic. Boundaries is when someone is demonstrating aggressive, combative, poor behavior in a home or in a relationship. The other person that's being affected needs to create a boundary, saying, look, I'm not going to allow you to treat me this way. I'm not going to allow you to talk to me this way. I'm not going to allow you this way. If you want to be that way, you need to do it elsewhere. And then you create a healthy boundary. But the problem is that when they get caught into this trap, that anger, they use it as a tool of manipulation, like I did. Like, you know what? I'm going to get super angry and I'm going to get super upset. I'm going to break your stuff and then I'm going to leave. And then what I expect from you is for you to come running after me and saying, hey, it's going to be okay. I'm sorry you're going through this. And then it's a tool of manipulation to get your way. And so that just tells the individual that if I get angry, if I get upset, if I yell, scream, or break your stuff or steal your stuff, then you're just going to come after me more and try to understand me. So now I'm getting my way.
Yeah.
So we need to create these boundaries with unhealthy relationships, unhealthy individuals, and say, I'm not going to stand for that. I'm not going to allow you to use me. I'm not going to allow you to, interfere with my life. And a lot of this sometimes has to do with codependency. Codependency is where another individual it's the same thing as an addiction. Codependency is just as bad. A mother, a father, a loved one, they can't eat. They can't sleep. They're just filled with grief and worry over the individual, and so they'll do anything to have that individual back in their lives.
Yeah.
And then they'll give them everything, just to be here and be okay, and it's very unhealthy.
Yeah.
That's why Al-Anon has this program, and Nar-Anon, and these other helpful programs.
So
they're very effective.
Yeah, so it sounds like a codependent relationship will have a lot of enabling behavior comes from not being able for at least the family members or loved ones to put strong boundaries between themselves and the addicted individual.
The whole group of this thing is sometimes called toxic relationships.
Yeah.
A mother or a father or a loved one, they don't understand that this relationship that they're creating by giving into the individual, by not creating boundaries, by enabling and giving all the time without a clear picture of what they're supposed to be accomplishing, is toxic. And sometimes you can enable a person to death.
Yeah.
You can enable, that you're killing the individual. After we're 18, we're adults.
Yes.
We need to be free to experience life with the tragedies, consequences, and victories on our own. If we're handed all that stuff, there is no, and this is a lot of times they'll talk about, oh, my son suffers from low self-esteem. My daughter suffers from low self-esteem. That's because you gave them everything.
Yeah, because they're unable to do esteemable things for themselves.
They're not doing esteemable things.
Yeah.
They're getting the car, the apartment, they're getting everything. They're getting catered to, they're getting fed, they're getting everything, and they're not doing esteemable acts on their own, so they don't even know what self-esteem is.
Absolutely.
It's a serious deal.
Yeah.
That's why in the treatment field that a lot of times parents, a lot of times family members will think that, well, the individual is struggling, and if I was that individual, these are the things that I would do to be able to get out of that realm. But the problem is they're not addicts.
No.
They're not alcoholics. They don't understand this deal. That's why you need professionals that understand this to be able to give guidance, to be able to set boundaries. A lot of times people go, well, I need to set boundaries. We're like, you absolutely do. You need to set boundaries. And they're like, I'm going to set boundaries. And then I ask them, do you know what those boundaries are? Well, not really. They don't understand this. That's why they need a professional. That's why they need to go to treatment. That's why they need to talk to counselors and therapists and people in this field to be able to get the guidance, what's best for the individual or the addict or the alcoholic.
Yeah, it's beautifully said. I completely agree with you. What is the difference between enabling, helping, and empowering?
Empowering, this is a lot of times I'll talk to the family members and I'll tell them empowering is this. Empowering is that you have a list of objectives that the individual needs to meet in order to say, look, if you accomplish this, and this task, then we will assist you, we will help you, and then you empower the individual to accomplish small tasks. Get a simple job, go to some meetings, work with a sponsor, work with others, help out around the house.
Yeah.
Do something productive in small little increments, and then at the end of those say, look, you've been doing good, you've been demonstrating actions, not just words. You've been demonstrating actions.
Yes.
And so now we will help you. And this empowers an individual that will, because life's about reaching goals.
Yeah.
Life's about reaching goals. And so if a person's able to accomplish goals and have objectives and accomplish goals, it builds self-esteem.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So
very important.
Very, very important. How is codependence detrimental to relationships?
Codependency is, talk about relationships. I have this little thing. A relationship is not two people looking at each other and wondering what the hell each other is doing and feeling all the time.
Right.
This is not a relationship. You know, this is codependency. I'm wondering what the heck you're doing. I'm wondering if you're okay. I'm wondering what you're thinking about me and la la la. And can't you see that you're doing all this stuff? This is not a relationship. A relationship is two people living side by side, moving through the future, through life together.
Walking together.
Walking together, moving through life together. Not this.
Yeah.
This is codependency.
Yeah.
And then you wind up putting aside your own principles, your own everything for the other person. And this is, it's not healthy.
When you're in a codependent relationship, I truly believe that a lot of your life is determined on how the sick person feels, what the sick person is doing, and it just it costs you a lot. Yeah, a lot of self-care, a lot of the things that you want in life.
Well, you wind up running around asking the other person, how am I doing? How am I doing? Do you love me? Do you like me? How am I doing? How am I doing? Am I pleasing you? And then you wind up giving up your own independence.
Yeah, absolutely.
You wind up just tripping on yourself, and then so your whole happiness is if that other person's happy.
Yeah.
And then you'll give them anything for to be happy, and this is super unhealthy, and you'll give them unhealthy stuff.
Yeah.
And then your whole identity is based upon the opinions of others.
Exactly.
And this has ruined your self-esteem, dignity, respect.
Yeah, absolutely.
You sacrifice all these things.
What are some examples of unhealthy boundaries?
Unhealthy boundaries. Allowing someone to, tyrannize your home. Allowing somebody to, you'll have people in unhealthy relationships. And then the other person will push, at first it'll be verbal abuse. And then they will tolerate that verbal abuse. They won't create a boundary. And then that verbal abuse a lot of times escalates into physical abuse. And then the one-time physical abuse is demonstrated and there's no boundary set, then it will continue to escalate. People die from this thing. So you have to, nip it in the bud. You have to say, look I'm not going to allow you to demonstrate this kind of behavior in my home. I'm not going to allow you to talk to me that way. It's difficult too because people's emotions get into play, and so the victimizer, they will say things and the other person will take it extremely personal. So now you have two people engaging, yelling at each other. There's no communication there, when the healthiest thing that I could tell family members, the healthiest thing that I could say is just don't get combative. Don't take it personal. Create a boundary and say, hey, look I'm not going to be allowed for you to yell at me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to allow this kind of verbal abuse. I love you. I care about you. But this is the boundary. As opposed to getting combative. And then they want to tear the other person apart. They want to say, don't you see what you're doing to me? Don't you see how mad you're getting me? I've done all these things for you. I've done this and this and this. And don't you appreciate that? I've sacrificed. And then they take it personal. And it's extremely hard to create a boundary when you're emotional like that.
So I know that at the Lighthouse, we try to teach our clients to set boundaries themselves with their families. Why is it important for an addict to also set boundaries?
Extremely.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it's not just the individual, it's not the addict or the alcoholic or the person that's suffering. A lot of times it's the mothers, the hoverers, the fathers, the grandfathers, the aunts, the uncles that just hover. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? How are you doing? Well, you know what? I saw that look on your face and something's up with you. What's going on with you? What's going on with you? This is unhealthy.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
be picked apart. Sure, we have a lot of wreckage of our past, and sure, our family members can question our behavior. To be constantly picked apart, a lot of times it's just too much, and they wind up falling apart. I know that. So the individual says, look, I'm going to create this boundary. I'm going to work. I'm going to live here. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to these meetings, and I don't need to be questioned every 5 minutes.
What are some benefits of people in early recovery setting boundaries?
A lot of times, friends.
Yeah.
Friends, you know, the friends that are in active addiction, the friends that are using, we have to have personal boundaries and say, look I don't want that way of life. Not that I don't, this was always a big misconception too, is at least for me, that all the people that are out there, like, they don't care about you, they just want you to be, misery loves company, they don't think about, I find that a lot of times to be a little bit false, because, I've known a lot of people out there and they did genuinely care as much as they could. And these people do care about their friends that are out there that are using, but they have to say, I'm creating this boundary out of love. What your goals are, what your principles are, which are extremely unhealthy, aren't mine today. So I just need to, my early recovery, I had to tell these people, my friends, I'm doing this sober thing right now, and that's why I'm not gonna hang out. That's why I'm not gonna come over.
Yeah.
Not that I don't care about you, but I'm doing the sober thing right now.
You have to be a little
I'm not
selfish.
I'm not running around, doing this stuff. So, and if they genuinely do care about you, they'll say, all right, good for you. I've had a lot of friends out there that say, I'm glad you're doing good.
Sometimes it inspires them as well to get help.
A lot of people. I pulled a lot of my friends that gotten out of prison that were out there, and that's my phone goes, rings off the hook for people asking me for help.
Yeah.
A lot of the people were my previous friends.
Oh wow, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Would you like to say anything else about toxic relationships?
Don't get in them. No, I'm kidding. No, just toxic relationships. You have to, recognize verbal abuse, anger, irrational behavior. You have to, instead of fighting it with the individual, yelling at the individual, instead of being combative, you just set a healthy boundary and say, this is the way it is. I love you. I care about you. But I'm setting this boundary, and I'm not going to allow you to tyrannize on my life, to tear it apart. Yeah. And that creates some distance,
Yeah, thank you. Do you have any advice you'd like to give to family members or loved ones of an alcoholic or addict?
Yeah, there's this big one that I talk about, and I try to get the parents to understand. When the individual that's going and actively addicted, when they tell you that they're done, that they never want to mess with heroin or drugs ever again, and they want help and they'll do whatever it takes, when they ask you that, they're not lying. They really want the help. But the problem is that 6 hours later, we find ourselves loaded again. You find that individual loaded or on drugs again, and the problem is that they weren't lying to you. It's that we have this disease inside of us that is so conflicting that one minute we want help, the next minute we don't. So we have to understand that these people are hurting. They're in pain. They're suffering. They're sick. So we have to treat them that way. Patience, love, and tolerance is extremely difficult to practice. Extremely difficult. But the reason it's difficult is because it takes a lot of courage to practice that. Because a lot of us, the first way we feel is we want to be combative. We want to say, well, you know what? Not screw me, screw you. Or look at all this stuff, and we want to, make them feel bad. But that's not it. It takes a lot of courage to pause for a second and just think, you know what? This individual's sick. I'm not going to yell at them and get crazy with them. I'm going to treat them with patience, love, and tolerance. And I promise you, you get a lot further with that than you do with yelling and being argumentative and trying to make the individual feel bad, because they feel bad enough. Yeah. They do. It's just that we need to have professional help. That's why there's individuals out here that are professionals. They can deal with this, because you can't deal with it on your own. If you could have you would have a long time ago.
Do you want to talk a little bit about any events that you have going on anytime soon? You have your
Yes, as a matter of fact, I do.
We'd love to hear about it.
Okay, so Wednesday, May 16th, is next Wednesday. We're having an event at the Anaheim Grove, and it's going to be, and it's for a nonprofit called Standing United. We started this nonprofit, Standing United, and what it does, it assists the individuals when they we get individuals straight off the street or after they leave treatment. You know, we work with a lot of employers, we get them jobs, bus passes, work with sober living homes. We do all these things and we assist them with that. And so we have this event at the Grove next week, 6 to 9 p.m. We're giving away TVs, iPads. We've got Angels tickets, in the mayor's box. We have Massage Envy.
Ooh.
We have a lot of vacation stays. Anyway, come join us there next Wednesday between 6 to 9 p.m. And it's going to be great. You can also look up standingunited.com under events.
All right, beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. A lot of our alumni are also going to go and support you. And just one more question to close out. Do you have any advice you'd like to give to the alcoholic or addict who's currently struggling?
There is a way out. You're not always going to feel this way. There is a way out. There's thousands and thousands of people that have found the way out. In my darkest moments, I thought that that's all that life was. I thought that that was it. I was always going to feel that way. I was always going to be addicted. I was always going to be strung out, that there was nothing else. Well, that's wrong. There's a process to change. There's a process to feel like a kid again. There's a process to remove all those things that are affecting us, that are compelling us to use. There is. Thousands and thousands of people have participated in this process. And like myself, I've never been happier in my life. The reason I don't want to use heroin, speed, or any of that stuff is because it's not going to make me feel better than the way I feel right now.
Well, thank you so much. You're such an inspiration. Yay! All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. See you again next time.
Thanks.